In the year 2008, a documentary filmmaker named Marcus Webb received a peculiar proposal. Pernell Roberts, the actor who had famously departed the hugely successful television show Bonanza at its peak, desired to grant a series of unrestricted interviews, 6 hours of complete candor with no constraints but contingent upon one strict requirement. Once the interviews were finished and Roberts had voiced every single thing he needed to say, Webb was obligated to destroy the recordings immediately, every one of them. Roberts insisted, "I do not want this content distributed while I'm alive, and I absolutely do not want it released after I'm gone. I demand it be wiped out, completely erased, utterly vanished, as if it never existed." Webb consented primarily because he desperately needed the money. Roberts paid $50,000 for 6 hours of interview footage that was never intended to be heard. They recorded in Roberts' Malibu residence, conducting 6 sessions over a period of 2 weeks. Roberts was 80 years old, battling pancreatic cancer, and knew his remaining time was measured in months, not years. He wanted to discuss Bonanza, the Hollywood establishment, and the 5 individuals who had made his life a torment for upholding his moral standards. Webb diligently recorded everything as Roberts held nothing back. 60 hours of television history poured out, fury, deep resentment, justification, and the unvarnished truth. Upon completion, Roberts examined the recordings, 6 digital files containing his entire confession, his definitive final statement. "Erase them," he commanded. Webb protested. "Mr. Roberts, I compensated you to film them." Roberts simply repeated, "I paid you to delete them. Do it." Webb proceeded to delete the files right in front of Roberts, emptying the trash bin and formatting the storage drives. Roberts gave a satisfied nod, saying, "Thank you." Webb departed, drove to his home, and immediately retrieved the files from his secondary backup drive. This was because Marcus Webb was a documentarian, and documentarians do not destroy historical records, even when financially induced to do so. He kept the files completely confidential, telling no one. He waited until Roberts passed away in 2010, and then until every other person from Bonanza had also died. He waited until it was entirely safe. In 2024, 14 years after Roberts' death, Webb released select segments of the interviews, not the complete recordings, only the portions concerning the 5 people Roberts could never forgive. These were the words of Pernell Roberts, the very words he paid $50,000 to silence and desperately wished to see erased. It is the account of a man who quit the second most watched television series in America, who voluntarily relinquished fame, wealth, and success. He chose personal conviction over monetary compensation and was consequently penalized for 40 years by the entire Hollywood system, his colleagues, his close acquaintances, and, shockingly, the one group he least anticipated, the devoted fans. Roberts' voice, rough with the friction of age and intense indignation, can be heard on the tape. People frequently ask if I regret leaving Bonanza, if I would choose a different path now, knowing what I know. The answer is unequivocally no. I don't harbor any regrets. I would repeat the decision exactly the same way. Not because it was a shrewd move, it wasn't. Not because it resulted favorably, it certainly did not. But because I was correct, and they were fundamentally mistaken, and sometimes being in the right is the only thing you have left, even when that integrity costs you everything you possess. This is the narrative of Pernell Roberts, the man who was right 50 years too early and paid the ultimate price until the day he died. Before delving into the specific names, it's crucial to understand the magnitude of Pernell Roberts' action. In 1959, NBC premiered Bonanza, a Western series chronicling the lives of a Nevada ranching family, the Cartwrights, a father, and his 3 sons, Lorne Greene was cast as Ben Cartwright, the family's patriarch. Dan Blocker played Hoss, the kind-hearted giant. Michael Landon was Little Joe, the impulsive youngest son. And Pernell Roberts portrayed Adam, the thoughtful, university-educated eldest son. The show became an astonishing cultural phenomenon. By 1961, it had ascended to become the #1 show in America. By 1964, 60 million people tuned in weekly, making it the most watched television program globally. Pernell Roberts departed in 1965. He left after only 6 seasons, while the show maintained the #2 spot in the ratings, and his compensation was $100,000 per episode, an amount equivalent to $900,000 in today's currency. He simply resigned. Hollywood was left in shock, fans were distraught, NBC threatened to blacklist his career, and his fellow cast members felt profoundly betrayed. Why did he choose to leave? On the tapes, Roberts clarifies, people mistakenly assumed my departure was due to financial disputes, inflated ego, or an argument with the cast. None of that was accurate. I left because Bonanza represented a falsehood. It was a comfortable, profitable, and popular deception, and I could no longer be complicit in it. The series purported to champion morality, family values, and depict the Old West as a noble, respectable era. However, the actual scripts were fundamentally racist. Native Americans were depicted as savages. Mexican people were portrayed as indolent. Chinese characters were mere comic relief. Virtually every episode reinforced damaging stereotypes that were harming real people. I raised objections for 6 years. I actively challenged every racist screenplay, every thoughtless caricature, every instance where we portrayed indigenous peoples as unthinking murderers or Mexican individuals as cowards. The producers disregarded my concerns. The network instructed me to keep silent and simply perform my role. My co-stars branded me as troublesome, a rabble-rouser, ruining the positive atmosphere. So I quit because I could no longer tolerate looking at myself in the mirror. I couldn't pretend it was merely entertainment, just a television program, or simply a paycheck. It was propaganda, it was toxic. And I was the one delivering this harmful message to 60 million people each week. Consequently, I resigned.
I forfeited the fame, the wealth, the success, everything. And what was the outcome? They persecuted me for 40 years, right up until my death. They ensured I suffered the cost for having principles. The tapes expose 5 people who subjected Roberts to agony for taking a stand. 5 names he never forgave, and 1 particular group he loathed above all others. But we will address that in due course. First, let's examine the amiable man who enabled everything.
Lorne Greene, the quintessential American father figure, the dignified head of the Ponderosa Ranch. He was portrayed as gentle, sagacious, morally upright, everything a father should embody. On the recordings, Roberts's tone becomes icily detached. Lorne Greene, everybody adored him, the entire cast, the crew, the audience, America's dad. I felt nothing but contempt for him. I despised him because he was a coward, masquerading as a gentleman. Lorne was a nice man. That was the crux of his issue. He was so excessively pleasant that he never took a firm position on anything, never fought for a single cause, and never questioned the status quo. As long as he was universally liked, he was content. And raising concerns about racism invites controversy, makes people uneasy, leads to unpopularity, and labels one as difficult. So Lorne simply smiled, collected his considerable salary, and pretended the issues didn't exist. The key incidents that shattered Roberts's respect for Greene began in 1961. It involved a second-season episode featuring a Paiute tribe. The script depicted the Paiutes as barbaric savages, senseless killers attacking white settlers purely out of bloodlust. Roberts recalled, "I read it and immediately approached Lorne. He was the principal star, the lead actor. He possessed leverage that I lacked. I told him, Lorne, this script is explicitly racist, it's offensive, we cannot air this." He appeared uncomfortable. "Pernell, it's just fiction. It's only a story," he replied. "It is not just a story," I insisted. 60 million people will view this. 60 million people will be taught that Native Americans are savages. That isn't mere entertainment, that is outright propaganda. He said, "I acknowledge your concern. Then assist me in fighting it," I urged. "You are Ben Cartwright. You have significant influence. They will listen to you." He hesitated. After a prolonged silence, he said, "Pernell, I don't want to cause trouble. It's not appropriate for me to instruct the writers on their craft. It absolutely is your responsibility when they are writing falsehoods and stripping real human beings of their dignity," I countered. He shook his head and said, "I apologize. I cannot offer assistance. I want to avoid complications." It was at that moment Roberts understood. Lorne wasn't a virtuous individual. He was merely a complacent one, and comfortable men will never stand up, never take a chance, never sacrifice popular approval for the sake of moral principle. This pattern of refusal repeated itself for another 4 years. Every time Roberts brought up a racist script, he implored Lorne to support him, to use his elevated standing to take a united stance. Every single time, he declined. "I want no controversy. I don't want to be perceived as difficult. I prefer for everyone to coexist peacefully," he would say. Concurrently, the quality of the scripts deteriorated. They featured Chinese laundry workers who could barely speak English. Mexican bandits were consistently portrayed as spineless and intellectually inferior. Black characters were relegated to roles as either enslaved people or criminals. And through it all, Lorne simply smiled, acted his part, cashed his paycheck, and enjoyed universal admiration because he never challenged anyone, never caused discomfort, and never advocated for anything beyond his own tranquility. The final breaking point occurred in 1964. Roberts confronted Green for the last time. "We were filming an episode where Hoss establishes a friendship with a Native American character," Roberts recounted. "However, the Indian was written to be childlike, simple-minded, requiring guidance from the white man, the classic, noble, savage trope. I approached Lorne. 'This is my final effort,' I told him. 'Lorne, please, just this one time, stand up, speak out, tell them this is wrong.' He looked at me, those celebrated Lorne green eyes, gentle and kind but utterly hollow. He said, 'Yeah, Pernell, you must choose your battles selectively.' I responded, 'I have been choosing battles for 4 years.'
'When will you ever decide to fight one?' He replied, 'My fighting is done by not fighting, by maintaining harmony, by making everyone feel at ease.' You are not preserving peace, Lorne. You're enabling injustice. There is a vast difference,' I stated. That's when I witnessed the only moment of anger I ever saw from him. 'I am not wicked, Pernell,' he retorted. 'I am pragmatic. You wish to be a hero, go right ahead. But do not expect me to jeopardize my entire livelihood for your personal crusade.' Roberts concluded. That exchange concluded our significant relationship. I stopped asking anything of him, stopped discussing anything of consequence. I simply arrived, performed my scenes, and went home. We were never truly friends again, just colleagues, courteous, professional, and detached. Lorne Green passed away in 1987 from heart failure.
His obituaries celebrated him as television's greatest father, a professional and a true gentleman. Roberts' final commentary on the tapes. When Lorne died, I was asked if I would attend the memorial. I declined. People were astonished because Lorne Greene was not viewed as a villain. He was merely a nice person who never took a stand for anything meaningful. And nice people who facilitate evil are, in my view, worse than actual villains. This is because villains are at least forthright about their nature. Lorne pretended to be virtuous while doing nothing at all, and America loved him precisely for that. That is the real lesson. Comfort is always more appealing than moral bravery. And the nice guys always succeed first, while the principled men achieve nothing. But Lorne Greene was only the passive enabler. The next person Roberts discussed was the genuine architect, the creator who bartered his artistic vision for financial gain. David Dortort was the creator of Bonanza. He was the writer, the producer, the driving imagination behind the Ponderosa. Roberts' voice on the recording becomes more profoundly angry and acutely personal. David Dortort, Roberts stated, the individual who sold his artistic integrity for the profits of syndication. When David initially pitched Bonanza, he promised something revolutionary. A Western that would explore complex real-world issues, prejudice, violence, ethics, and multi-layered characters facing difficult choices. That promise is why I accepted the part. I genuinely believed him. I believed we were creating something truly significant. However, I discovered the truth during the first season. David had lied. Or perhaps he believed his own words initially, but the network had drastically different ideas, and David instantly and completely capitulated. The betrayal unfolded in phases. In the first year, David was still resisting, crafting screenplays focused on discrimination, the rights of Native Americans, and the devastating repercussions of violence. The network rejected them all, labeling them too cynical, too controversial, and not appropriate for family viewing. David argued for a brief moment, then immediately rewrote everything, making the content simpler, less risky, and more easily digestible. Roberts confronted him early on, while he still held hope that Dortort might listen. "David, this is not what you pledged," I insisted. "These scripts are trash, simplistic stereotypes, and relentless gun battles." He looked exhausted. "For the present, the network dictates the content. I do not have the final executive authority," he replied. "Then fight for it," I challenged. "You are the creator. You hold significant leverage." "I have a mortgage payment," he stated. "I have outstanding debts. I have a professional life that requires protection." "So you are prioritizing financial gain over professional integrity?" I asked. "I am prioritizing practical reality over theoretical idealism," he corrected me. "Welcome to the world of television." The absolute breaking point arrived in 1963. Roberts flatly refused to act in a specific episode. The script involved Adam falling in love with an indigenous woman. "It sounds enlightened, doesn't it?" Roberts mused. It was not. The entire narrative focused on the reasons why they absolutely could not remain together. Why interracial union was a tragic mistake. Why she had to tragically die so Adam could return to his appropriate, proper existence. It was racist propaganda disguised as a romantic tragedy. I went straight to David's office, script in hand. "I will not participate in this," I declared. "Pernell, I will not agree to portray interracial romance as something catastrophic. I will not spread this toxic message." David stood up, genuinely furious now. It was the first time he displayed real passion. "You are systematically destroying my show," he yelled. "Every single week you complain. You object to every script. You create difficulty for every episode. You are killing Bonanza." "Your program is actively harming people, David," I shot back. Real human beings, Native American children who watch this and learn they are lesser savages, black children who are taught they are criminals, Mexican children who absorb the lesson that they are cowards. That is the actual damage your show is inflicting. It is just a television show, he insisted. It's superficial entertainment. No one takes it seriously. 60 million people take it seriously, Dietz, I shouted. 60 million people are absorbing moral guidance from the Cartwright family, and you are knowingly teaching them bigotry. David sank back into his seat, massaging his face. When he spoke next, his voice was altered, subdued, and resigned. "You're going to quit, aren't you?" he stated. "Yes," I confirmed. "Because of this? Because of abstract principles, you are going to abandon the most successful television show in history?" "Yes," I confirmed again. He gave a bitter chuckle. "Then you are a fool. This industry is not based on principles, it is based on money. And I'm accumulating millions. Lorne is too, NBC is, you could be as well. But you prefer to be right." "Yes, David, I prefer to be right," I responded. "Then go, leave, ruin your career, see if I care, but do not expect the world to applaud you, because nobody truly cares about your principles. They care about being amused, and I am providing that amusement." Roberts left his office and never had a meaningful dialogue with him again. David Dautor continued to produce Bonanza until 1973. He amassed millions and became an esteemed figure, a successful producer, and a Hollywood luminary. Roberts's grim conclusion on the tape, David Dautor confirmed one stark fact: selling out achieves results. He became wealthy. I was blacklisted. He is remembered as a genius. I am remembered as difficult. Perhaps that is the ultimate lesson. Perhaps principles are for simpletons. Perhaps David was correct and I was mistaken. Yet, I still cannot view reruns of Bonanza without feeling physically unwell. And David felt the same. I was told he never watched the repeats either. He couldn't bear to look at what he had ultimately fashioned. That is something, not much, but a small consolation. But Dautor was only the person who compromised his ideals. The next entity was the merciless system that crushed anyone who refused to conform. NBC owned Bonanza, and the network ensured that Pernell Roberts was severely punished for his decision to leave. Roberts's voice now resonated with pure fury. The NBC executives, the powerful men in suits, the mere businessmen, the ones who converted genuine art into a commodity and genuine artists into expendable employees, they despised me from my first day. This was because I refused to be silent, refused to participate in their deceptive game, and refused to pretend that television was just innocent entertainment. And when I resigned, they made absolutely certain I suffered the consequences. The threats began in 1965 when Roberts officially announced his departure. NBC summoned me to a conference, Roberts recalled. Not the producers or the creative team, but the network executives, the genuine source of power. 3 men in expensive business attire. I never bothered to learn their names. I didn't care. The lead executive began, "Mr. Roberts, we have been informed that you intend to leave Bonanza." "That is accurate," I replied. "We wish to discuss this decision with you," he continued. "There is nothing to discuss. My time is finished," I stated. The senior executive leaned closer. "Let us be perfectly clear," he stated. "Bonanza is the single most valuable property owned by NBC. Your departure causes damage to that property. We view this matter with extreme seriousness." "I am not damaging anything," I countered. "The series features 3 other lead actors. You will manage just fine." "That misses the core issue," he insisted. The issue is setting a dangerous precedent. If actors are allowed to simply walk away from successful shows due to their personal sentiments, it creates a hazardous example. Personal sentiments? I questioned.
I am resigning because this show actively promotes systemic racism. This show promotes wholesome family values, the executive corrected me. This show generates $200 million for us annually. That is what this show accomplishes. I will no longer be an accomplice to it, I finished. The executive offered a cold, calculated smile. Then allow us to explain the inevitable repercussions. If you leave Bonanza, you will never be employed in the television industry again.
We will personally ensure it. No starring roles, no guest appearances, no commercial work. Absolutely nothing. Are you issuing a threat to me? I asked. We are simply providing you with an education on how this business operates, he stated. NBC maintains strong professional ties with every major studio, every production house, and every casting director. We make a single phone call, and your career is over. Then proceed with the call, I said. I am still leaving. They did make the call. Roberts was professionally shunned for well over a decade. For 14 years, I was unable to secure acting jobs, Roberts admitted. I couldn't even get audition appointments or even preliminary meetings. Not because I lacked talent, but because NBC ensured everyone in the industry understood, employ Pernell Roberts and you will forfeit your entire working relationship with NBC. And no one was willing to accept that risk. Not for me, not for a matter of principle, not for any reason at all. I resorted to working in theatre, summer stock, off-Broadway, places the NBC machinery could not reach. I earned just enough money to barely scrape by. My friends called it obstinance. My family labelled it foolishness. Hollywood deemed it professional suicide. Perhaps they were right. Maybe I should have remained, kept my dissent to myself, collected the paychecks and been smart. But every time I contemplated returning, every time I considered an apology or playing their corporate game, I vividly remembered those offensive scripts, those damaging stereotypes, and those 60 million people learning racism from the Cartwrights. And I stood my ground, I remained unemployed, and I remained true to my convictions. The professional exile finally ended in 1979. 14 years later, he landed the starring role in Trapper John, MD, on a different network under new executives in a changing era. By then I was 50 years old, Roberts lamented. My career was shattered, my reputation tarnished, my financial situation devastated. But I was right. And they were fundamentally wrong. And history eventually validated me. Not that it makes a difference, because being correct does not cover the rent, nor does it reconstruct a destroyed career.
It does not give you back 14 lost years. NBC taught me that the massive corporate machine always triumphs. Always, you can choose to fight it. You can be proven correct, but you cannot defeat it. They utterly crushed me and then simply proceeded as if I had never existed at all. But NBC represented only the institutional system. The next individual made Roberts' ordeal deeply personal, because this man was his dearest friend. And when Roberts left, that friendship was irrevocably destroyed.
This segment occupies the longest portion of the interview tapes. It is the most raw and emotional, the point where Roberts' voice cracks with genuine agony. Dan Blocker, Hoss Cartwright, the gentle giant, Roberts recounted. America's lovable teddy bear. He was my best friend right up until the day I left. After that, we never exchanged another word. Dan Blocker and Pernell Roberts formed an immediate and strong bond from the first day of Bonanza. Dan hailed from Texas, Roberts explained. I was from Georgia. We were both Southern men. Both of us felt like outsiders in Hollywood, Both of us were perhaps too candid for our own benefit. We ate lunch together daily. We discussed serious subjects, current politics, the civil rights movement, the war, and life in general. Dan was truly progressive. He passionately believed in equality and social justice. He stood up for the marginalized, or so I sincerely thought. We would often lament the scripts together, Roberts continued. We complained about the racism, the crude stereotypes, the lazy writing. "This material is offensive garbage," Dan would say. "We are capable of better work than this." "Then let's challenge it," I would propose. "Yes," he would agree, "we really should." But he never did. He would complain profusely, then perform the script, deposit the check, and complain all over again the following week. I mistakenly believed he was steadily building his nerve, searching for the opportune moment, awaiting the perfect battle. I was utterly wrong. Dan wasn't cultivating courage, he was merely venting his frustration, allowing the pressure to escape so he could continue doing what felt comfortable. The final fissure in their friendship occurred in 1965 when Roberts announced his resignation. "I informed Dan first," Roberts recalled, "before the producers, before the network. He was my friend. He deserved prior notice. We were having a private lunch away from the studio lot. Dan, I'm quitting the show," I told him. He immediately stopped eating and stared at me. "What?" he asked. "I am finished," I reiterated. "I can't continue with this anymore. The scripts, the blatant racism, the dishonesty. I'm leaving." He slowly set down his sandwich. "Pernell, you absolutely cannot do this," he pleaded. "I must," I said. "No, you have an obligation to remain for the show, for the cast, for me," he insisted. "Dan, I have been fighting this battle for 6 long years," I explained. "Nothing has changed, and nothing ever will. I can no longer participate." "So you're just going to leave? Just walk away?" he asked. "What becomes of us? What about our friendship? What about the principles we constantly discussed? The justice you always claimed to believe in?" He looked away. "That's entirely different," he muttered.
"How is it different?" I pressed. "Because your leaving changes nothing, Pernell," he argued. "You walk out, they hire a replacement, the show continues, the scripts remain just as bad. You will achieve nothing except, perhaps, the destruction of your own career." "But at least I will no longer be contributing to it," I said. "So this is purely about you, about your personal conscience and your principles?"
"Not about actually enacting any change," he challenged. Roberts confessed that the accusation stung, as a part of him worried Dan might be right. "Dan, I am not asking you to resign with me," I clarified. "I'm only explaining the necessity of my departure. You are abandoning us," he said. "You are deserting the series. You are prioritizing yourself over your friends. I am choosing integrity over personal ease," I corrected him.
"No," he snapped. "You are choosing arrogance over loyalty." They sat in tense silence, their entire friendship disintegrating in that single, crushing moment. They never had another truly honest conversation. Dan remained on the show, becoming one of the most beloved figures in television. Hoss Cartwright, the very moral heart of the Ponderosa. "But he never spoke to me again," Roberts recalled. "Not a single word. For 7 full years, I tried to reach out. I called him. I composed letters. I contacted him through mutual acquaintances. Nothing, total silence." Then in 1972, Dan Blocker died suddenly from a pulmonary embolism at the age of 43. "I attended the funeral," Roberts stated. "I stood inconspicuously in the back. I wanted to pay my respects, to honor the bond we once shared." Michael Landon spotted me. He walked directly over to me. "You should not be here," he told me. "I am here for Dan," I insisted. "Dan did not want you here," Landon replied.
You abandoned him. You abandoned all of us. You have no right to mourn now. Roberts left immediately, drove home, and wept for the first time since his childhood. Roberts' voice breaks noticeably on the tape, conveying authentic anguish and pain. Dan Blocker was my very best friend, he wept. The person in all of Hollywood I trusted the most. The person I genuinely thought shared my deeply held beliefs. But when the moment of truth arrived, when I desperately needed him to understand my position, he chose the series, he chose comfort, he chose financial success, and he completely resented me for forcing him into that choice. That is the source of my deepest pain. Not that he chose to stay, but that he despised me for leaving. He hated me for doing the very thing he instinctively knew was right. He hated me for having the moral fortitude he lacked himself. Dan Blocker died believing I had betrayed him.
And I have lived knowing he fundamentally betrayed his own self. We were both partially correct and both profoundly wrong. And the friendship never healed. That is the genuine toll of standing on principle. It costs you more than your career. It costs your friendships, your most cherished relationships, everything. Dan chose success. I chose integrity. He was granted 7 more years on the most popular show on television. I received 14 years of professional unemployment. Who emerged victorious? I truly don't know. You'd have to ask Dan. Oh, wait. You cannot. He has been deceased for 50 years, and I am the one still recounting the story, still defending the decision, still questioning if he was right all along. And I was wrong. Perhaps he was. Perhaps staying put is indeed wiser than walking away. Maybe fighting from an internal position is more effective than outright resignation. But I was incapable of staying.
And I lost my best friend because of that inability. This profound regret forms the emotional nucleus of the recordings. It is the moment where Roberts' conviction falters, where the cost of his actions becomes glaringly apparent, where being right no longer feels like a victory. But there was still one more person to discuss, the one who stayed, who completely mastered the rules of the game, and who ultimately attained everything Roberts had lost. Michael Landon, little Joe Cartwright. The youngest son, the volatile heartthrob, the one who played the Hollywood game with precision and completely won. Roberts' voice here carried a tone of bitter respect. Michael Landon was the most intelligent of us all, Roberts observed, because he grasped a fundamental truth that escaped me. Hollywood is not concerned with being morally correct. It is entirely about being profoundly successful, and Michael was exceptionally successful. Landon and Roberts were never close friends. Their relationship was strictly professional and polite, but nothing more. Michael was utterly driven, ruthlessly ambitious. He came to Hollywood with the singular goal of becoming a star. He cared nothing for the art of acting. He cared nothing for the underlying message. He was singularly focused on his career advancement. He played little Joe like a romantic matinee idol, all superficial charm, good looks and shallow surface. But he was perceptive. He was observant, continuously learning and strategically planning his next move. While I was locked in arguments with producers about offensive racism, Michael was cultivating relationships with them, taking them out to dinner, playing golf, and actively networking. While I was actively rejecting morally questionable scripts, Michael was petitioning for greater screen time, more close-up shots, and more episodes centering on his character, Little Joe. While I was actively dismantling my own career, Michael was meticulously constructing his empire. Roberts confronted Landon one final time, just prior to his departure. It was 1965. I had resigned, Roberts remembered. I had informed the producers and the entire cast. I had one episode remaining to film. Michael unexpectedly came to my dressing room. It was the only time he ever did. "I hear you're leaving," he asked. "That is correct," I replied. "Do you mind if I inquire why?" he asked. I explained my reasons: the pervasive racism, the harmful stereotypes, the ethical code I could not violate. He listened intently, then offered a small smile. "Pernell, may I offer you a piece of advice?" he said. "Go ahead," I replied. "No one cares about your principles," he stated plainly. "Nobody remembers the person who stood on a moral high ground. They remember the person who remained, the one who achieved success, the one who won. And that person is me. I am going to remain on Bonanza for as long as they will have me. I am going to absorb every possible lesson about show running, directing, and the entire business side of production. And when I am through with this show, I'm going to create my own series, completely control my own professional life, and write my own rules." "By betraying every belief you claim to hold?" I asked. "I do not hold any beliefs, Pernell," he shot back. "That is the crucial difference between us. You are obsessed with being right. I am focused on being successful." "And you are perfectly comfortable with that?" I questioned. He merely shrugged. "I sleep soundly at night. You are the one who is facing a decade of unemployment and bitter resentment. So who truly is the smarter man? The principled idealist with no career, or the pragmatic realist who possesses everything?" Roberts admitted he had no immediate rebuttal. Michael Landon proved his own point. He stayed with Bonanza until 1973, a further 8 years. He became the undisputed main star after Dan's death. He mastered producing, directing, and writing. Then he created Little House on the Prairie, his show, his artistic vision, his absolute control. It ran for 9 seasons, generated millions of dollars for him, and cemented his legendary status. Following that, he created Highway to Heaven, another massive hit, and another enormous fortune. Michael Landon passed away in 1991 from cancer at the age of 54. He died rich, successful, and universally loved. And you know what? Roberts challenged. He never changed a thing. Little House and Highway to Heaven were just as simplistic as Bonanza. They were just as complacent and just as non-controversial. But nobody cared because they were overwhelmingly successful, popular, and immensely profitable. Michael won. By every metric that matters in the Hollywood system, he was the victor. Roberts's final comments regarding Landon were scathing. "I hated Michael Landon, not because his viewpoint was mistaken, but because he was absolutely correct. He understood the nature of Hollywood far better than I ever did. He understood that commercial success is valued far above moral principle. That winning is more important than being ethically right." He stayed, he played their game, he became wealthy, he achieved global fame, and he gained total control. I left, I stood by my principles, I was blacklisted, I went broke, and I gained nothing of substance. Who demonstrated greater intelligence? Undeniably him. Who was morally correct? Objectively, I was. But what real value is there in being right if no one notices, if you lose absolutely everything, and if you die solitary and full of bitterness? While the individuals who willingly compromise their values die wealthy and adored, Michael Landon gave me the most painful lesson of all. Sometimes the morally dubious individuals triumph. Sometimes submitting to the system yields results. Sometimes principles are nothing more than arrogance disguised. I still believe my decision was correct. But I am certain it was not a smart move. Michael Landon, Lorne Greene, David Dortort, Dan Blocker, and the NBC executives were all facets of the Hollywood establishment, all part of the industry. The true adversary, the group that held the most intense resentment for Roberts, were not in Hollywood at all. They were watching television at home, 60 million strong, and they never forgave him for leaving their favorite show. This part of the interview is the most disheartening. Here, Roberts' voice is saturated with something deeper than anger. It is tinged with a palpable sense of fear. "Do you want to know who my true tormentors were?" Roberts challenged. "The people who made my life a living hell for 40 years? The people who never, ever let go of their grudge? Not the corporate executives, not the producers, not even my former co-stars. It was the audience, the damned fans." The response from the fan base to Roberts' resignation was instant and vicious. "When I announced I was leaving Bonanza, I was inundated with correspondence," Roberts explained. "Thousands of letters, not notes of encouragement, but absolutely hateful mail. 'You are abandoning us,' they wrote. 'You are ruining our program. You are betraying the Cartwright family.' They accused me of betraying fictional characters, but it escalated dramatically. It became much worse. Actual death threats, real threats of violence for resigning from a television program. 'You should be shot like a character on Bonanza,' one wrote. 'You deserve to die for what you did. I hope you develop cancer,' another said. People would recognize me in public and scream insults at me. One time, in a public eatery, an elderly woman spat directly into my face. She did this because I had left Bonanza. I asked her why she was so angry. She stated, "You deserted us. You were part of our family. You walked out on us." I tried to articulate my reasons, the pervasive racism, the moral imperative that forced my departure. She was completely unmoved. "You left. That is the only thing that matters," she declared. The intense animosity persisted for decades. In the 1970s, while Roberts was unemployed and performing in regional theatre, a fan publication tracked him down and conducted an interview. They asked, "Do you have any regrets about leaving Bonanza?" "No," I told them. "I would do it all again." The magazine published the answer, and the hostile letters immediately began flowing again, hundreds of them, all full of hatred. "You are ungrateful. You are arrogant. You believe you are superior to us," they accused. Yes, I thought to myself, I genuinely believe I am superior to you because I took a stand for something meaningful while all you want is cheap entertainment. But I kept that thought to myself. I simply stopped granting interviews altogether. Even achieving success later did not alter the ingrained public perception. In 1979, Trapper John MD premiered. It was my long-awaited professional return. It ran for 7 seasons and was a hit series. Finally, proof that I was right to leave, that I could succeed on my own terms. Yet the fans remained hostile and unforgiving. Critical reviews of Trapper John inevitably referenced Bonanza. The common refrain was, Roberts has finally found success after his disastrous choice to leave the greatest Western on television. Disastrous choice. Even when I succeeded, the press framed it as a sort of redemption rather than vindication. As if my leaving was a transgression, and I was finally being granted forgiveness. I was never seeking absolution. I was correct. I had been correct the entire time. But no one cared because I had committed the ultimate, unforgivable sin.
I had walked out on them. The profound bitterness was unreserved and raw. "Do you want to know the ultimate lesson the fans taught me?" Roberts asked. "What 40 years of hatred instilled in me? People don't want authentic artists. They desire compliant servants. They do not care for principles. They demand only entertainment. They don't want you to take a moral stand for anything. They want you to remain precisely where they last saw you indefinitely until your death.
The fans were indifferent to the racism embedded in Bonanza. They didn't care about the damaging stereotypes. They were unconcerned with the harmful lessons the series was imparting to their children. Their only concern was that I had left, that I had disrupted their established routine, that I had the sheer audacity to prioritize my own moral code over their television enjoyment. And they never forgave me for it, not during my struggles, not during my eventual success. Never. To the audience, I will forever be remembered as the ungrateful, difficult actor who abandoned Bonanza, who thought he was too good for the medium of television, who irreparably damaged their cherished series. It made no difference that Bonanza continued to air for 8 additional years without me. It made no difference that it remained a massive commercial hit. It made no difference that my departure altered nothing except my own career path. They hated me regardless, simply because I left them. And audiences are inherently unforgiving of being left behind. Roberts' final analysis of the fans. The attitude of Hollywood I could comprehend. It is a massive enterprise. Moral integrity costs them money, I accept that. But the fans, they were not losing any money. They were only losing a fictional character on a primetime television show. And they hated me for that singular reason. With a level of intensity that genuinely frightened me. With a venom that utterly shocked me. It was then I understood that fame is not about being loved. It is fundamentally about being claimed as property. The fans believed they possessed me. They believed they owned the character Adam Cartwright. They believed they owned my loyalty. And when I reclaimed ownership of myself, when I asserted, no, I own my own life, they never once forgave it. The executives blacklisted me for 14 years. But the fans, they never ceased their attacks, never forgave, and never released their hold. 40 years later, right up until the time of my death, people continued to approach me in public, in restaurants, at airports, on the street, and pose the exact same question. Why did you leave Bonanza? Never once did a person say, thank you for your moral stand. Never once, you were correct about the offensive racism. Always and only, why did you abandon us? That is the source of the true, enduring hatred. Not Hollywood, but the consumers. Because Hollywood eventually moves on, but fans possess endless grudges, and they make sure you pay for them indefinitely. The interview tapes conclude with Pernell Roberts in solitary reflection. There are no more names mentioned, no more blame assigned, only deep contemplation. Marcus, you asked if I regret my decision to leave Bonanza, if I would approach it differently today. I have had 40 years to obsess over this question. 40 years of unemployment, industry blacklisting, profound hostility, financial insecurity, and constant struggle. And the response remains, no, I do not regret it. I would resign again. Not because the outcome was favorable, it was not. My acting career never truly recovered its former trajectory. Trapper John was an excellent show, but 7 years of work does not erase 14 years of professional idleness. Not because I was happy, I was not. I spent decades consumed by resentment, anger, and bitterness, watching those who compromise their values thrive while I floundered. I would still do it all again because I was morally correct. And sometimes being correct is the sole comfort you can cling to. Bonanza was explicitly racist. That is not subjective opinion, it is verifiable fact. The scripts consistently demonized Native Americans, Mexicans, Chinese, and black individuals. It taught 60 million people that these groups were inherently inferior. That is an act of profound malevolence. It was comfortable evil, widely popular evil, but evil nonetheless, and I could not in good conscience participate in it, even if leaving cost me absolutely everything I had, even if no one ever thanked me, even if historical memory barely records my actions. I was correct, and they were mistaken. And 50 years later, anyone with a shred of objectivity can plainly see it. But here is the profound truth I grasped. What 40 years of struggle taught me. Being correct means nothing if you stand alone. Being correct does not settle your debts. Being correct does not revive a dead career. Being correct does not make people love you. Being correct is just that, being correct. Nothing more, nothing less. And often, most times, being correct demands an astronomical personal cost and offers absolutely nothing in return. His voice softened, not with remorse, but with acceptance. I am 80 years old and I am dying. I have only a few months left, perhaps less, and I am still obligated to defend a decision I made 45 years ago. Still needing to explain, still justifying, still hoping that someone, somewhere, will finally grasp my motives. Most likely, no one ever will, because I have been trying to explain for 45 years and no one has truly listened yet. They will remember Bonanza, they will remember Lorne and Dan and Michael. They will remember the Ponderosa, the family dynamic, and the idealized Western myth. They will never remember that the show was racist, that it was a toxic influence, that I left because I was morally compelled to. They will simply remember that I resigned, and that will be my lasting legacy. The man who quit Bonanza, the difficult employee, the ungrateful ingrate, not the man of principle, not the righteous man, not the man who was right, just the one who left. Maybe that has to be enough. Maybe being correct for entirely selfish reasons is ultimately the same as being wrong. Or perhaps one day, history will gain perspective. 50 years from now, 100 years, perhaps some young person will watch a rerun of Bonanza and finally perceive what I saw, the bigotry, the lazy stereotypes, the hidden poison, and perhaps they will finally understand why I left, why I felt I had no choice, why I would make the same decision again. Probably not, but there is always a maybe. That is all I have left, a maybe, and the irrefutable knowledge that I was correct. Even if that moral certainty cost me everything, even if no one cared, even if I died isolated and consumed by bitterness, I was correct. And they were mistaken. That fact must be enough because it is literally all that remains of my life. The recording ceases. Pernell Roberts passed away in 2010 at the age of 81 from pancreatic cancer. His funeral was modest with few attendees. No major Hollywood stars were present, nor any members of the Bonanza cast, all of whom had predeceased him anyway. His published obituaries remembered him as the difficult, inflexible actor who resigned from Bonanza. They never once mentioned the actor who courageously stood on principle, never the actor who was morally right. But Marcus Webb meticulously kept the tapes. He waited 14 years and then released them in 2024. Because Pernell Roberts was, in fact, absolutely correct about the racism, the pervasive stereotypes, and about Bonanza being a deceptive poison masquerading as family entertainment, history eventually confirmed his conviction. But being right did not salvage his career. It did not bring him happiness. It did not make people forgive his choice. It simply left him correct, isolated, impoverished, and deeply resentful. And perhaps that is the true bleak lesson of his life. Not that principles are inherently valuable, but that they carry an immense financial and personal burden. They cost you cherished friendships, your profession, your income, your achievement, and your fundamental happiness. And sometimes most times the price is simply too heavy to bear, and the people who pay it die wondering if their action was truly courageous or merely an act of professional folly. Pernell Roberts died without a definitive answer. He died defending his choice. He died alone. But he died having been right, and maybe, just maybe, that will have to suffice.